Long ago, in the prosperous kingdom of Ujjain, King Vikramaditya ruled with wisdom and justice. Under his rule, people enjoyed peace and prosperity, and the land flourished. But one day, a troubling report reached the royal court. Villagers from a remote hamlet near the dense Shamali forest were vanishing mysteriously. At first, it was a single shepherd, then a couple of farmers, and then a whole family. All had vanished without a trace. The whispers in the palace grew louder, with rumors of strange creatures, spirits, and curses haunting the village. Vikramaditya, ever the brave and curious ruler, could not ignore this troubling news. Determined to uncover the truth, he summoned his ministers and advisors. Some suggested the villagers had run away, others insisted on sending soldiers to search the area. But Vikramaditya, known for his knack for unorthodox solutions, had a different plan. "Why not go and see for myself?" he mused aloud. The ministers gasped, horrified. The thought of their beloved king wandering through a haunted forest was unthinkable. But Vikramaditya was resolute. After all, how could he call himself a just ruler if he didn't face the dangers his people endured? And so, the next night, Vikramaditya dressed in simple traveler's clothes, taking with him only his trusted companion, Vital, the talking spirit who lived in the forest and enjoyed a good mystery as much as he enjoyed teasing the king. Vital perched on Vikramaditya's shoulder, his eyes gleaming with mischief, whispering, "O king, you do know there are other ways to spend a peaceful evening, don't you?" With a grin, Vikramaditya replied, "Where's the fun in peace, Vital? A king's duty is to know his people's troubles, and tonight we will get to the bottom of this mystery." They set off for the village under the cover of darkness, traveling through dense forests filled with the cries of night creatures. The path twisted and turned, and the shadows of tall trees loomed over them, casting eerie shapes. Vital, always one to stir up a bit of humor, began telling outlandish ghost stories, hoping to spook the king. But Vikramaditya laughed and told him to save his tales for later. At last, they reached the hamlet, a cluster of small huts huddled together as though in fear of the surrounding forest. The village seemed deserted. The few villagers who remained had locked themselves inside, refusing to open the doors. "Oh dear," whispered Vital. "They look as if they're more afraid of us than of whatever's been snatching their neighbors." Finally, after much convincing, an old man crept out from his hut, his hands trembling as he held a torch. "Why have you come here, travelers? Don't you know this place is cursed?" he whispered. Vikramaditya assured him that they were there to help. With a shaky voice, the old man explained that people had started disappearing shortly after a strange hermit had come to the village, claiming he could fulfill any wish. "Any wish, you say?" Vikramaditya repeated, intrigued. "Yes," the old man replied, casting a fearful glance over his shoulder. "They say he lives in the deepest part of Shamali forest and that he has magical powers. But everyone who went to him for a wish never returned." Vital's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Ah, a classic! A mysterious hermit, promises of wishes, and people vanishing into thin air. O king, how could we resist?" But Vikramaditya was more serious, considering the matter carefully. It was clear the villagers were terrified, but whether of the forest or the hermit, he couldn't yet say. Determined to uncover the truth, Vikramaditya told the old man to rest assured. They would find the missing villagers. So he and Vital ventured deep into the forest, their path illuminated by the faint light of the stars. The further they went, the darker and stranger the forest became. Odd noises filled the air, and strange shadows flitted between the trees. After a long journey, they finally reached a clearing where a ramshackle hut stood under a gnarled banyan tree. Outside the hut sat a figure cloaked in tattered robes, his head bowed as he muttered strange incantations. It was the hermit. Without a hint of fear, Vikramaditya stepped forward and greeted the hermit. The old man looked up, his eyes flashing in the darkness, and he gave a sly smile. "Welcome, travelers. What is it you seek? Fortune, fame, perhaps immortality?" Vital whispered into Vikramaditya's ear. "Ask for something really outrageous, like a mango that doesn't rot or a cow that gives honey instead of milk. Let's see what he says." But Vikramaditya ignored Vital's jest and asked calmly, "What is the price of these wishes you grant?" The hermit's smile faded, and his eyes grew cold. "The price is your spirit," he said in a low voice. "Those who seek a wish must be willing to give up something in return. But don't worry. Those who have come before you were eager to pay." Vikramaditya's eyes narrowed. "And where are these people now?" The hermit laughed, a dark, eerie sound that echoed through the forest. "They are here, all around us, in the trees, the wind, and the shadows. They live on, in a manner of speaking." But Vikramaditya wasn't intimidated. He crossed his arms and declared, "I demand to see them. If you are as powerful as you claim, show me these people who came for your wishes." The hermit's sly grin twisted into a scowl. "You doubt my powers, mortal?" he hissed, his eyes narrowing as he rose to his feet. "Very well, you shall see them." With a dramatic wave of his hands, he chanted in an ancient guttural language. The air grew thick and cold, and the forest seemed to hold its breath. Vikramaditya watched closely, his hand resting on his sword, prepared for any trickery. As the hermit chanted, eerie shapes began to emerge from the shadows around them. Figures took form in the mist. Men, women, even children. Their faces were hollow, their eyes vacant. They drifted like ghosts, expressions frozen in eternal sorrow. These were the missing villagers, caught somewhere between life and death, trapped by the hermit's dark magic. "Behold," the hermit crowed, "they are bound to me, for they chose desire over fear. They wished for riches, for beauty, for fame, whatever their hearts longed for, but they did not read the fine print of the deal." Vital, perched on Vikramaditya's shoulder, muttered, "Well, I'd call that a classic case of too good to be true. Isn't this fellow a delightful trickster, trapping people with empty promises?" Ignoring Vital's remark, Vikramaditya fixed his gaze on the hermit. "What kind of man tricks simple villagers and binds them to this half-life?" he demanded. "Release them or face the consequences." The hermit laughed, his voice a chilling echo in the still forest. "You? A mere traveler? Do you think you can command me?" he sneered. "I am a master of ancient powers. These people are bound to me, and only I decide their fate." Vikramaditya, undaunted, replied, "You may have ancient powers, but know this. I am not a mere traveler. I am King Vikramaditya, ruler of this land, and no one harms my people without facing justice." The hermit's confidence faltered at the revelation. He hadn't expected to come face to face with the legendary king. His eyes flickered with fear, but he quickly masked it with defiance. "Titles mean nothing here, king," he spat. "In this forest, I am the only power." With that, he flung a handful of black dust into the air, and the forest erupted into chaos. Shadows coiled around Vikramaditya and Vital, trying to bind them as they had bound the villagers. Vital shrieked in mock terror. "Oh no! Shadows! Whatever shall we do?" He chuckled and added, "Come now, O king. Let's show him a trick or two." Vikramaditya drew his sword, the steel gleaming even in the dark, and struck at the shadows. As he did, he chanted a prayer of protection, his voice strong and unwavering. The shadows recoiled from the purity of his words, hissing and retreating like snakes. The hermit, taken aback, shouted incantations to strengthen his dark forces, but it was too late. Vikramaditya's sword glowed with an inner light, cutting through the shadows and breaking the spell that held the villagers. One by one, the trapped souls drifted free, their faces lighting up with relief and gratitude. Realizing he was losing control, the hermit tried to flee, but Vital wasn't about to let him get away so easily. "Not so fast, my friend," he cackled, swooping down and latching onto the hermit's cloak, twisting and tangling it until the man stumbled and fell. Vikramaditya approached the fallen hermit, his gaze hard. "You used your powers to exploit and enslave the innocent. You sought to gain from their misfortune. Such deeds cannot go unpunished." The hermit, desperate, groveled at Vikramaditya's feet. "Mercy, O king! Spare me, and I shall never set foot in your kingdom again." Vikramaditya considered him for a moment, then spoke with authority. "Your fate shall be decided by the villagers you wronged." He gestured to the freed villagers, who stood watching, their anger simmering now that they were free of his dark hold. One by one, the villagers stepped forward, voicing their grievances. Some had been deceived into giving up their life savings. Others had come seeking blessings for their families, only to be enslaved. When they were done, Vikramaditya pronounced his judgment. "You shall be stripped of your powers," he declared, "and you will spend the rest of your days working for these people you wronged, serving them honestly. This is your punishment." With a final chant, Vikramaditya broke the hermit's powers, leaving him an ordinary man. The villagers, now free, cheered in relief and gratitude, gathering around the king and showering him with blessings. Vital, perched on Vikramaditya's shoulder once more, whispered, "A fitting end, don't you think? Nothing humbles a trickster more than honest labor." The journey back to the palace was filled with laughter, stories, and the gratitude of the villagers. The tale of how King Vikramaditya uncovered the mystery of the disappearing villagers and brought justice to the forest spread through the kingdom like wildfire. People celebrated his bravery, his wisdom, and his unwavering commitment to his people. And as for the hermit, he spent the rest of his life laboring in the very village he had once terrorized, learning that true power lies not in trickery and deception, but in humility and service.